We have 5 Joola bats, each one cost less than $55, and we tested each paddle and reviewed them head to head. Whether you like to block or smash, we think there's a bat here for you. Or maybe the drawbacks are too much. Let's see.
Hey, I'm Alex, a writer with pingpongruler.com. We put together in-depth reviews to help you get great equipment so that you can become a better table tennis player. Megaspin.net was kind enough to send us all of these rackets to review. Megaspin sells all kinds of table tennis equipment and they have a best price guarantee, so we highly recommend you check them out. But the reviews in this video are based on our own testing and our own unbiased opinions. We want to help you decide if any of these bats fit your game, and if one does, you can easily make a purchase using the links in the description. We also have a full review available on pingpongruler.com for each paddle, so check those out if you like. Today we're going to be reviewing the Omega Speed, which is $25.99 and is great for power and enhanced feeling. The Omega Strata, which is $33.95 and is great for a balanced game with an emphasis on spin. The Infinity Balance, which is $34.95 and is great for quick counter-attacks. The Infinity Edge, which is $43.95, which is fast hitting with a large sweet spot. And the Infinity Overdrive, which is $54.95 and is the fastest hitting with the most spin. Each of the paddles have some drawbacks, which we'll cover in depth in our review. We've added timestamps below if you want to jump ahead or grab a cup of coffee, and we'll explain all of the reasons why each of these bats might be the right one for you, and why they might not.
So first up is the Omega Speed at $25.99. The first thing that surprised me about this bat was how spinny it was. Joola rates the Omega Speed as having the least spin out of all 5 paddles, but it's still pretty high for such an inexpensive bat. As such, you've got a lot of versatility in regards to how you can play. As expected, control was very high in all areas of the game. Blocks felt very stable, and you will likely be using a lot of them with the Omega Speed. However, being used to a much faster bat, I sometimes didn't give enough force in my own blocks, instead relying on the power of my opponent. This resulted in quite a few blocks ending up in the net. However, with some adjustments, I adapted to the reduced speed without too much difficulty. Another area that took some adjustment was my serving, especially for my chop serve. I was constantly serving pretty high over the net, which would result in flick punishes had my opponent not been so kind. Once again, after some small adjustments, my serves were much lower. In terms of speed, the bat is not that fast, so don't be deterred by the name if you're a beginner. It plays in a very linear way, so the more power you put in, the more speed you get in return. It's just very predictable. This is rather unlike the Infinity Edge and Infinity Overdrive, which do not play in a linear way. The carbon in those blades gives you elevated speed in the higher gears. More about those bats at the end. As a final point, I was pretty damn surprised how easy it is to loop with the Omega Speed. I assumed it would be very difficult, but this was far from the case. As a beginner, you won't be able to do this shot for some time, but when you reach the latter stage of intermediate level, you should look to introduce this into your arsenal. And with the Omega Speed, you can certainly loop. Next up is the Omega Strata at $33.95. Straight off the bat, I could tell this paddle was slower than the Speed. My first loop, which I put a good amount of power into, lost a lot more pace than I was expecting. The bat holds the ball longer, and you need a more open bat face for topspin strokes. This gives the Omega Strata more control and spin over the Omega Speed, which is hardly surprising. It has the most feeling out of the 5 bats by far, you get good feedback in all areas of the game, and its feedback is really high when you start hitting fastballs. Again, I had similar issues with my serving bouncing high over the net, as my current bat grips the ball much better, which keeps the ball low. However, this is a tendency of my strike in particular, and not an issue you should really face. In my opinion, Joola has got its target audience just right with the Strata. It does indeed suit a balanced game with an emphasis on spin. It has more than enough spin to win points for effective serving, and opening up from backspin with spin is relatively easy to do. I also think its lower speed rating is not much of a hindrance. This bat is ideal for beginners, as you really don't want that fast of a setup when you are still developing. Moving on, we come to the Infinity Balance at $34.95, the first of the Infinity range. The step up from the Omega bats is very noticeable. I believe this is mostly due to the 7-ply blade composition. The Omega bats have 5 layers of wood, the Infinity Balance is 7. As such, the Infinity Balance feels quite a bit faster than the other two, especially away from the table when I use more impactful strokes. This contradicts Joola's speed rating for the Infinity Balance and Omega Speed, which is 92 and 93 respectively. However, in the more passive game, when blocking or performing slower drives, the Infinity Balance's pace is fairly close to the Omega Speed. This meant once again I was putting easy balls into the net due to muscle memory. You shouldn't fully rely on your opponent's pace when blocking with the Infinity Balance. You have to be actively conscious to apply the correct amount of force to play an effective return. I did, however, notice my serves weren't quite as high with the Infinity Balance, which was certainly a big plus for me. I was also producing enough spin to give my opponent some difficulty both when serving and in other areas of my game. To me, the Infinity Balance is a great choice for intermediate players. However, I think there's a little wiggle room to be had, so don't be discouraged if you're not at an intermediate level. It's a great choice for all-rounders who like to defend and attack. If you're enjoying the video thus far, don't forget to click the like button to support the channel. It helps us get our hands on more equipment to keep providing you with reviews. Time for the Infinity Edge, which is priced at $43.95. The difference between this and the Balance was once again obvious. It felt far more explosive thanks to the presence of carbon in its blade. Adjusting to this paddle took less time as I had been using carbon blades for nearly a decade. The increased sweet spot and kick made offensive shots much more deadly. I also noticed a little more pace in the passive game, which resulted in fewer unforced errors. The Edge undoubtedly suits a more attacking style and is highly effective in the looping department. For this reason, I can easily see the Infinity Edge being a great fit for offensive, advanced players. However, in my opinion, it's a better fit for intermediate players as it gives them more room to grow. While fast, it is nowhere near as quick as the top bats. It also doesn't have as much spin as many advanced players seek, so I recommend it for intermediate players rather than advanced. I certainly don't think it's a good fit for beginners though. Carbon blades and beginners is a big no-no. You don't get the level of feeling and control needed to learn the fundamentals of the game, so if you're a beginner, instead consider the Omega Strata, Omega Speed, or perhaps even the Infinity Balance, depending on your playstyle. Before we get into our final and most expensive paddle, you'll find all links to these bats in the description. Megaspin has a lowest price guarantee and can deliver in 2 to 3 days too. If you do use our links, it would help us get our hands on more table tennis products to review at no cost to yourself. And finally, we come to the Infinity Overdrive at $54.95. Boy did this one impress me. Now this feels like an elite advanced bat. It is clearly the fastest and spinniest of all 5, and as such, it's easier to win points for effective attack. Even my playing partner noted how strong my shots felt after just a few rallies. Now both the Edge and Overdrive have an identical wood composition of Hinoki, Koto and Aeus, yet they have slightly different carbon composition. The Edge uses regular carbon, and the Overdrive uses carbon Kevlar. The Overdrive's blade is also thicker at 6.1mm compared to 5.7mm. The differences here lead to a noticeable increase in speed. Both also feel a little top heavy compared to the other bats. Not overly so, but this once again is an indication of their very fast nature. Moving on to control, I feel the Infinity Overdrive has a decent amount of control for a fast bat. I was never overwhelmed by its pace and felt comfortable when blocking or pushing. I feel most intermediate players will be happy with the levels of control they get from the Infinity Overdrive. That being said, I think the bat is more suited to advanced players than those of intermediate ability. It has a catapult effect and as a result, maybe a touch too much to handle for some people. However, I can certainly still see some intermediate players thriving with it in their hands. I myself could quite easily use the Infinity Overdrive with few complaints, and I'm pretty picky when it comes to equipment. What blows my mind is just how cheap the bat is. Custom equipment is damn expensive, and the Infinity Overdrive significantly undercuts that cost. I think it's a super bat for any advanced player out there who's seeking to get their hands on a fast, spinny bat at an affordable price. The value for money here really is very high. As a final quick review, I'll once again run through who I think is most suitable for each bat. Starting off with the Omega Speed, this is best suited for fast counter hitters who are still developing their strokes. So beginners, this one is for you. Similarly, the Omega Strata is another bat best wielded by a beginner. If you favour an all-round game with good feeling, it could be a great choice. Moving on to the Infinity line, we have the Infinity Balance. I think this bat is best suited for intermediate players. It's another all-round bat, but it's noticeably quicker in my opinion. Certainly worth the tiny price increase over the Strata if you can handle its speed. Next is the Infinity Edge. This paddle suits attackers who are either at an intermediate or advanced level. However, I think it's slightly better for intermediate than advanced players, as it means you don't outgrow the bat too quickly. And finally, the Infinity Overdrive is for more aggressive attackers who are at an advanced level. You can kill balls with it without too much trouble, and the value for money it provides is pretty staggering. Considering my bat costs around $300, it's pretty crazy to think this one is only $54.95. I could almost buy 6 of them for the same price. Again, all these bats are linked below. Let us know down in the comments which bat you liked most. And for more info, check out our individual reviews where we go into more depth. Catch you later and keep an eye out for our next video.